All right, good morning, PTI Nice Daily Show. Happy Monday morning. A little bit of an early start here on the Daily Show. Hopefully you got our notifications yesterday that we'll be going a little bit early today. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. My name is Alan. I'll be your host today, serving as COO of ICE and faculty member in our fitness athlete division here on pregnancy and postpartum Mondays to talk about coaching the pregnant and postpartum athlete. Before we get started, just a couple of announcements. Your chance to catch us out on the road is rapidly dwindling for the year. We've just got a couple more live courses left and a couple more online courses that are going to be kicking off before the holidays begin. So we have Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations starting tonight with Mitch, myself, and Guillermo. It's still time to jump into that course and get started with us. If this is all kind of new to you, learning these barbell movements, coaching them, cueing them, introducing them to patients, using them in the clinic, and all things talking about load and higher intensity exercise, that course starts tonight. So head to ptinice.com and jump into that. And then speaking specifically of the pregnant and postpartum athlete, you can jump into Fitness Athlete, Pregnant and Postpartum. That starts January with Christina and Alexis Morgan. So it's talking specifically about what we're talking about here today. And then live courses this weekend, you can join Zach Morgan in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for lumbar spine management. The weekend of the 21st, you can catch Jeff Moore in Victor, New York for lumbar spine management, or Justin Dunaway in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for total spine thrust manipulation. You can also catch Zach Long for Fitness Athlete Live. Our last Fitness Athlete Live course of the year will be December 5th and 6th in Baton Rouge. And then you can join Rob Vining for telehealth starting next Monday, the 16th. So that's pretty much it for the year as we wind down for the holidays. You'll see this week as well. We're super happy. We've picked four, not one, four recipients of the ICE opportunity. So we'll be featuring each recipient this week, starting this week for the next 4 weeks. So look at ICE social media to meet our four recipients who will be joining us out on the road and online in ICE courses for the next 2 years as part of the ICE opportunity. So we're super pumped. We all met, Morgan, Jeff, and I. And the first thing we talked about was how we could not just pick one person out of all the applications, and also agreed we could not pick 2 or 3, but that we ended up picking 4 in total. So super happy to have our 4 recipients on board and excited to introduce you to them over the next couple weeks via ICE social media. So let's get into today's topic, coaching the pregnant postpartum athlete. Why we're so early this morning is that's what I'm getting ready to go do is coach CrossFit for the next couple hours. So when we work with athletes in the gym, it can be a little bit different than how we talk about working with them clinically, where they are coming to see us, where they probably already have symptoms or a reason to come see us clinically, and they're looking for a solution to those issues. That can be a little bit different of a dynamic than when we're coaching those athletes in the gym. In the clinic, we already kind of have their buy-in, right? They already have an issue that they want to have fixed, and it's a little bit easier to win those ladies over when they present to the clinic versus when they're out in the gym and we're trying to tell them to basically stop or modify doing a lot of the stuff that they're accustomed to doing, and telling them that it's in the interest of their best future physical health. So the first thing we need to recognize is that relationship is a little bit different when it's coach and athlete versus clinician and athlete. We need to recognize too, probably the most important thing, we need to be humble that we really just have recommendations. We don't have any clear-cut white paper, clinical practice guideline, algorithm that says if you follow these exercise modifications when you are pregnant, this will be your outcome postpartum. We simply don't have that. We're still in an era where we are emerging from a lot of providers, primary care providers, OBGYNs, still recommending bed rest and not exercising, and seeing an era of ladies who are continuing to do CrossFit, continuing to do powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, running, cycling, that sort of stuff. And we simply don't have those clear-cut guidelines established from the research yet. So we need to be honest when we're out in the gym coaching these athletes that, hey, I don't know for sure. When you question me and say, how do you know that if I keep doing pull-ups all the way through pregnancy or rope climbs or handstand push-ups, that it's going to affect me postpartum? The true answer, and probably the most important point here, is I don't. I don't yet. I think I have an idea that it won't go well, especially based on your level of conditioning. So we just have recommendations. And that brings me to the second point of establishing that athlete's goals. What are those athlete's goals? Some folks that are getting pregnant maybe have been doing CrossFit for years, 5 years, a decade. Maybe they've been strength training since they were in middle school. They have a higher level of capacity, and maybe their goal is to keep that capacity. Maybe they tell you, hey, I don't really want to be slowed down by this pregnancy. I want to keep hitting PRs or trying to hit PRs. My goal is to keep training heavy. I don't really want to be slowed down. That's a different dynamic than maybe a pregnant mom who is starting this stuff to recently started to get in shape, or maybe starting it during pregnancy to start moving during pregnancy, maybe for the first time in her life. Those are two completely different athletes, and that's going to change what recommendations I give to that athlete. The highly competitive athlete that has a large baseline strength and capacity, I'm going to let that person push those recommendations a little bit further and stretch them than that person who is brand new to exercise, who maybe can't even do some of these movements. I'm going to ask that person to pull back a lot more in the gym. I'm going to have that person get off the bar sooner, stop getting inverted sooner, stop lifting heavy sooner, and modify a lot of stuff a lot sooner for that athlete who I know is just not up to that baseline yet. But knowing those goals is really important. That person that wants to push the pace, trying to accommodate that person, but also having that conversation of if we push it too hard, there can be a lot of negative sequelae after pregnancy that can affect your recovery and your return to the gym. And if that person's goal is to basically not be slowed down by pregnancy at all and get back into the gym as soon as possible postpartum, then it's worth that conversation after class, or maybe even during class, during the warm-up, of not pushing it too hard, especially volume-wise and movement difficulty-wise, to facilitate that postpartum recovery. And then coming to the third part, which is always the most difficult for me, is recognizing that these athletes are adults, that we can make recommendations, we can try and establish their goals and help them meet their goals, but at the end of the day, they are adults. They're no different than any other athlete that comes to the gym and may ignore the recommendations of the coaching staff and try and lift too heavy with bad mechanics, try and perform movements their body does not have the capacity for. In that regard, they're really no different, and we have to maybe not beat ourselves up and lose sleep over those athletes who will ignore our recommendations. Here we're pretty strict. All the coaching staff have had a lot of education on working with pregnant and postpartum athletes. We have put our ladies boot camp coach through the ICE pregnancy and postpartum course to get her up to speed on working with pregnant and postpartum athletes, since she focuses not only in general CrossFit class on those ladies, but has a class of just women. So we thought it was really important for her to have that knowledge. But know that all that knowledge, all that education on how to modify exercise for these ladies and how kind of progression through pregnancy and postpartum recovery should go, those athletes can still ignore us, and I certainly see it happen throughout the week, every week, where make recommendations to an athlete, and I turn my back and I'm helping somebody else in the middle of a workout, and I turn back around and that person is doing movements that we just talked about we wouldn't be doing today, or getting around the annoying factor of the coach during regular class and just coming to open gym and doing whatever you want. So those issues are all on board. And we have to peel back at some point and say, we've done our best. We've tried to educate that person. We've made recommendations. We've talked about what can happen during pregnancy as far as symptom-wise, what can happen after pregnancy symptom-wise. Not to scare these ladies, but just let them know that these are possibilities. And if they've said those are worth the risk, I'd rather be doing GHD sit-ups and toes to bar and roll the dice on the risk of those symptoms, then we have to just let those athletes go and recognize that they're adults. No different than any other athlete who comes in and is trying to move too fast, too heavy, ignore our recommendations, try and push too hard through an injury and ignore our recommendations, we can only do so much. When we try to educate and recommend plans of attack to these athletes, we have to recognize they're adults, and at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want. And then maybe at the back end, try not to have that I told you so moment. But it's definitely a different dynamic than working with these athletes in the clinic, where they're coming to you, they're bought in, they're probably going to listen to you pretty well and not put up too much resistance as far as what you recommend, versus when it's happening in real time next door in the gym during class, what to do. So be honest that we have recommendations. We don't have clear-cut guidelines as much as other things in physical therapy and in strength and conditioning research in general. Find out that athlete's goals. Are they just looking to try and stay in shape during pregnancy, or are they looking to push the pace? That's going to guide what recommendations you give that athlete and how far you let them push the boundaries of those recommendations. And then recognize that they're adults and we can only do so much. That has been frustrating, I know, for me personally and for a lot of our other coaches as well, when we do make those recommendations and kind of lay it out for the athlete, and then they just ignore us or try to get around it another way. But recognize that they're adults, and we ultimately can't totally control their behavior as much as we want to. So I hope that helps. We talk often about how to help these athletes clinically, but I wanted to talk about what it looks like working with these athletes in the gym. And it's fantastic that we have our own pelvic floor physio here now, who is working with these athletes now during pregnancy, especially those who are coming now to us on the clinical side of things before pregnancy and trying to establish a plan of attack to stay healthy and safe during pregnancy and postpartum. It's wonderful to work with these athletes both in the gym and the clinic. And if you have more questions, if you want to learn more about this population, this is such an underserved population. We travel often for ICE. We drop into a lot of CrossFit gyms and different gyms across the country, and we see it done wrong in a lot of gyms, walking into a gym and seeing a very pregnant athlete doing, handstand push-ups and rope climbs and heavy lifting and that sort of thing. And we try to do it right here at CrossFit Fenton, and we use the education provided by the ICE course, Fitness Athlete Pregnancies Postpartum. So jump into that next cohort if you're looking to come alongside this population. It starts in January, 8 weeks online. It's a fantastic course with Christina, Kelsey, and Alexis Morgan, so make sure you jump into that. Other than that, speaking of coaching, I've got to run next door and start coaching. Don't forget to jump into Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations. Those of you that are already in it, we'll see you tonight at 8 for our very first meeting. Pumped about that. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.